had what you had, didn't know what you had.
Ready? It's 7 o'clock. I'll call this session of St. Mary's City Council to order. Roll call, please.
Bob,
Here.
Hoberman, Freewalt,
Here.
Willoughby. Here. Flagel,
Here.
Muhlenhag,
Here.
Fitzgerald.
Here. All rise. We're ready to bring in prayer.
Oh, good Creator, we are grateful for this day. It's been a beautiful day that you've given to us. You shine the sun on our fair city. You bless each soul in it. You watch over us, and we're thankful for that. This evening, we pray particularly for Ron Genter, former councilman who is in hospital tonight. We ask that you be with him and watch over him and his family. Be close to the doctors and nurses that are ministering to his needs. We pray, God, that you continue to be close to us as a people. Bless the streets of this town and all the homes upon it and all the people in it. We pray this in your most holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Could we give the pledge, please? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I received a copy of the minutes from the previous meeting in your envelope. If there are no corrections, I will accept the motion to accept. This will be second by Mr. Flegel. How's the vote to accept, please? All yeses. Thank you. Under petitions and communications this evening, I have one item. It's a zoning request change. The letter addressed to myself. Dear Mr. Holschert, the undersigned property owner hereby requests a zoning change for a vacant parcel located between 1201 Indiana Avenue and 1209 Indiana Avenue, being a parcel of land which is part of the northeast quarter of the south, or the northwest quarter of Section 4, St. Mary's Township, in the city of St. Mary's, and consists of approximately 0.534 acres of land. The property is currently zoned R1, which is single-family residential, and I request that the property be zoned R5, multi-family residential. The request is being made to allow for this property to be developed with a multi-family residential structure. The owner does not intend to rent out this multi-family unit. She intends to occupy one side and her brother will occupy the other side. Comes from Mary K. Brown. You all have, you should have a map.
Just for a point of reference, 1209 is the St. Mary's Living Center. So this is just east of the St. Mary's Living Center.
This has to go to the, obviously, the zoning board. Planning Commission, I'm sorry. Thank you for correcting me. So if I could have a motion to send to the Planning Commission?
So
Ms. Willoughby, second by Mr. Bucket. Council vote to send this to the Planning Commission. Oh, yes, thank you. That's all I have scheduled under petitions and communications. Mr. Harris has requested to address council.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is James Harris. I am Vice President of P&J Design Services Incorporated here in St. Mary's. Kind of in a nutshell, we are a manufacturing engineering department for rent. We go to various companies, usually not in Audelaize County. We are outside to Audelaize County, primarily in our majority of our business. I personally have been doing machine design engineering for over 40 years. So this kind of gets to me, knowing how things get put together. This is kind of my thing. But I have some comments here I'd like to make on this bag versus tag. And kind of bring some of you up to date on how things are manufactured. Most of the bags in the United States of this type are made out of polyethylene film. There are three major polyethylene films: high density, low density, long chain low density. Within each one of those groupings, it's how it's developed tells you what the quality of that material is. This material is first brought into a factory. In the parlance of manufacturing, we call those sheeters. And a sheeter is primarily, he's limited not so much by the material, but he's limited dimensionally, what he's running. They first bring in the pellets, the extra material, they mix it up to kind of like baking a cake. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, and they mix it up. And it goes into the product desired. In the bag up manufacturing, it's usually rolled up into a sheet, into a big roll. Kind of like, just picture your Glad wrap in the kitchen. Just picture something like that, about 10 feet wide and about 5 feet in diameter. That's kind of what they're working on. Both the sheet and the bag manufacturer is what is called a high capital, low labor operation. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, it is automated. Once you have the equipment bought, your main variable that you're dealing with is material. What kind of material are you using? And the cost can vary greatly as to this. Now, to guarantee quality, I've heard comments that, well, we'll specify the thickness. Ladies and gentlemen, that's just one of the parameters you have to specify if you're going to go this route. You have tensile strength, burst strength, puncture resistance, UV and ozone resistance. You have to specify that. Now then the question becomes, then you're going to have to start doing physical dimensioning of the bag. And I'll get into this, why you're going to have to do this. The testing onto the qualities of this bag and the material this bag is going to be used, you're going to have to test it. If you require material certification from the manufacturer, you're still going to have to test. Because in my line of work, I get material specs all the time. I send the stuff out to get it audited, and the material that the guy says it is ain't what it really is. Now, Greg, you've done quite a bit of steel stamping in that. I've had a lot of stuff come in that's supposed to be certified, 4041 heat treat, and it comes in 1018 cold rolled. I mean, he's got the cert saying it's 4041, but everything comes back and says it's 1018 cold rolled. So you're going to have to test audit to keep the guy honest and to make sure they don't make mistakes. Now, it's interesting that sheeting is very bigger in manufacturing. Some of the operations, plastic bags, Glad wrap, even vinyl siding. This goes back to what I was saying. The sheeting operations are limited more dimensionally than they are material-wise because they have their equipment set up for different thicknesses and sizes. And yes, vinyl siding is first started in a sheeting operation. What I wanted to get to is, as a lot of you know, my mother passed away just before Christmas. And I've been in the process of cleaning out her house along with my siblings. Now, my mom had a bag system up there. The current bag system, the bags are of such poor quality, you have to take a Glad or a Hefty bag, put that inside the garbage bag that you have to buy to get your garbage picked up, and then put your trash in. Now, during this clean out operation, we found kicked in the corner of the garage a grocery bag. In the grocery bag was some garbage bags my mom had bought about 10 years ago. And at least that's what the sales receipt said inside the bag. The difference between the two bags, ladies and gentlemen, were as different as night and day. The original ones of 10 years ago were definitely a high-density polyethylene. They were definitely 30-gallon, and they looked and felt and acted, performed like a Glad or a Hefty bag. The ones my mom currently has right now, well, I called them tissue paper because they would not hold up. And we had to use Glad or Hefty bags inside that bag just to keep the garbage in. The one thing that got me going on this is right now when I buy a bag to use for garbage, I go to a retailer, Kroger, whoever, and I buy a bag, and if it doesn't perform as I want it to, I go buy a different bag. The free market system allows the quality checks of people and it allows me discretion on what bag to buy. Right now, if you elect to go use a bag system, you're gonna force me and everyone else in St. Mary's to buy a bag that is selected by a bureaucrat here in St. Mary's, and I don't mean that derogatory, but, okay, who is required to go to the low bidder. Now, the current tags have been around and have stayed the same since its inception. New modern technology has caught up with it, and there is allegations I've been hearing of people taking sheets of these tags and copying them. Mr. Law Director, isn't that counterfeiting?
That would probably be a crime, yes.
Okay. So my questions to this council is, how extensive is the counterfeiting? Can a real count be given on how much is this done, or is this just an opinion by one person? How much? What are the numbers? I don't have that. Maybe you're privy to it. I don't know. How extensive is abuse of the one tag per can trash can? How much is people abusing a trash can? Why has this come before council now, not in the past? I was sitting on council for 14 years, never heard a problem, never heard a peep. Big question. When we put these bags on there and that garbage man flings it in the garbage can and it rips open, who's gonna clean up the mess? How good will the cleanup be? Now, I don't know about you, but right now my garbage cans last maybe 3 years before they are destroyed. There's some pretty rough handling out there. And I'm not knocking it. The guys are trying to get stuff done in a hurry and they're trying to stay on schedule, but things get manhandled pretty good. What is being done about the alleged counterfeiting? And has anyone identified or investigated using a different bag? As technology is done so we can color copy, technology has also come around where we can change the design of the bag and make it more difficult. As you can probably tell on ProTag. Current tag system has been used for a long time. No complaints. This system was brought before council by the Solid Waste Department until now that I know about. And my last comment, sir, is why are the majority of St. Peter, St. Mary's, who use the tag system as it was intended, being punished for the misdeeds of a few? I'll entertain any questions you have. If not, thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
Thanks, Jim. Any questions for Mr. Harris? Not. Is there anyone else that needs to address council this evening? Okay, then we'll move on to reports from city officials. You have the mayor's monthly report.
Nothing further to add to that report.
Questions or comments from council? Next, we have the tax commissioner's report.
Dan, just a couple things. I'm sure everyone noted that in their report there was a slight decline in our tax revenue. I think it's important to note that that slight decline is not due to employee withholding. The decline is due to a couple of our industrial accounts on McKinley Road paying less on their projected profits, their estimated tax. So I think it's just important to know that.
Any questions or comments from council? Not, that leaves us with the safety service director's report.
A few things to add there, Dan. Last week we had the fact-finding hearing for firefighters. It was very amicable, which I was pleased about. The fact finder indicated that he should have a report to us by July 8th. That report will be presented to you at the July 14th meeting in the executive session by Pat Heyer. Also to note, Mr. Noble, the mayor, and I on Friday went to Mirotech. We met with the outgoing president and the incoming president, plant manager, and some of their staff. We had a luncheon, we toured the plant, and the first comment they made was that they commented on the noted improvements in our electric distribution system. They were very pleased with those upgrades. We are going to next week tour the Napoleon Solar Field. I'd just like to extend an invitation to all of you who haven't been there or know about it. St. Mary's, Napoleon, and Waynesfield are all owners of this solar field. Most of us have not seen it. It's like a 3.45 megawatt site. We're going to tour it next Tuesday. You're welcome to go. If you're interested, let me or Deb know, and we'll make arrangements so we can all go together. It won't be the time of your life, but I think it will be informative. Sorry.
Maybe we could have a good meal.
Yeah, we could get a good meal out of it. The site went online in August of 2012, and I'm curious just to learn more about it, so I'm going, I'm anxious to get information about it. Mr. Doble, the tax commissioner, and the mayor and I have talked. Fort Laramie is interested in coming back to our services. They were with the city for about 35 years, from 76 to 2011. They left on good terms. They were going to try to do this themselves. They figured that they really don't want to do that, and they've asked to come back. Tonight at their council meeting, they are presenting an ordinance to their people to allow that to happen. You folks will be presented a similar ordinance to permit that. If they do come back, that'll be the 10th village, which I think is a high compliment of our tax department. And that's it, unless there's any questions about the director's report.
Yeah, let's comment on Murrow. That's been a fantastic success story here in St. Mary's. I can remember going to their open house when I think they had one press there. And now they've expanded several times, and there's over, I think they said 140 employees there. And I can remember when we met with Mr. Muro in Japan many years ago, and me telling him about the hardworking people here in St. Mary's.
We also informed them about the Spruce McKinley Road intersection widening, so their truck drivers will be pleased with that improvement.
There have so many employees are running out of parking.
They were parked on the grass, and
Why couldn't they build a parking lot in front of that creek that goes through there?
I'm not sure what their plans are, to be honest with you. We noted that when we were driving around trying to find a place to park, we noted the vehicles in the grass, and they commented that they're growing so fast that they're running out of parking, which isn't a problem until we get a lot of rain. So I just don't know what their plans are right now.
Any further questions or comments from council? No, that's all we have under reports from city officials. Under reports from committees of council, we have the solid waste committee report.
Basically, it was tag versus bag. That's it. That's all.
And basically, what the committee reported out of the committee was to bring it to the full council to get a good discussion from council, and then a recommendation from council on whether we should use the recommendation from the solid waste department to go to bags or stay with tags, or any other changes they might think we will need. So I've had information put together on the surrounding communities on how they handle things and the cost and stuff, and everybody should have a copy of that for the discussion. So I'm going to open the floor to you guys.
Well, I've had various comments from a number of citizens, and one of the interesting faction is saying that do away with the tags and bags altogether and just retrofit the trucks with automatic lifts. They can understand the overflow and they can understand the weight limit, but I think that just comes out of that train of thought comes out of we've had the tag system for a while, and still there's a lot of misunderstanding as to why the tag system was implemented in the first place. A lot of people don't understand yet that it's volume-based, and the bag system would be volume-based as well. And they think they're getting doubly charged. Well, it doesn't take much to figure out that the dollar for the tag is never going to pay for upkeep, transport, etc. And so you need the refuse charge on the bill anyway. And so I think what we need to do if we're going to implement a bag system is to educate the public a little bit more on why the city is doing this and the various pros and cons that we've been presented with so far.
I guess I could give you a little bit of background on it. I know both Greg and Todd were there when we implemented this. You can correct me if I make a mistake. But the tag system came in when recycling came in. It was meant to encourage people to recycle. The monthly charge that's on the bill covers the static cost for the department. The trucks have to run the route every week, whether people put garbage out or not. So that cost is going to be there every week. It also covers the cost of recycling, because recycling there's no charge for. And then for any refuse that we have to take to the garbage dump to dispose of, that's covered by the tags. So if someone puts a bag of garbage out every week, they pay $1. If someone puts 10 bags of garbage out every week, they pay 10. So the people that are using it, and we have to get rid of the garbage for them, they're the ones that actually pay for it. But the monthly charge is for the static cost of the department, and of course for the recycling. The recycling was put into effect at that time to try and encourage people. Myself, before a couple of years ago, I always used a little old lady as an example, but now I can use me. I'm retired and I'm by myself, and I put a tub of recycling out pretty much every week. If I don't, that sucker's full by the time I get it out the next week. And I maybe have garbage out there once every 2 weeks, because I keep the extra in the 30-gallon can in the garage, and then when I have enough for a 30-gallon bag, I put it in and take it out there. So I would have a bag out there every week if I couldn't recycle, and that's one of the reasons why we did the tag system, to try and encourage people to do that a little bit.
That's exactly what some people said too. This will definitely encourage recycling,
Right.
more recycling, because some people just aren't doing
Mhm.
enough of it.
I'd rather not, Jim, unless council wants.
Point of order.
What point of order?
Not point of order, I'm sorry. We are mandated to have recycling, because I asked that at the recycling conference a couple of years back. We are mandated to
Yeah.
have it.
But what this does is it encourages the recycling.
I guess I'll,
That's the background on it.
yeah, and I think Dan's pretty much hit that on the head a little bit. Some of the background even before that, before we did the tag system, we basically we were barely getting by. And at the time, council said, hey, we're gonna do the curbside pickup to basically offset the cost of everybody on the tag system. And we thought at that time, believe me, we did all type of research, we did weight studies, we did everything else to see if this was the way we wanted to go. And initially, we had some issues with it, but now I don't think anybody, at least that I'm aware of, is getting any calls on the complaining about the tag system. This is my opinion, what I'm hearing across the community, pretty much across the board, and believe me, I've asked a lot of people. I disagree with the description we had in the newspaper where it says the system's broke, it just does not work. Well, we don't operate our system with our residents satisfied the way we are with the system being broke. I'm not sure why we want to rock the boat. We're buying new equipment, we're maintaining our vehicles, and we have an excellent fleet of vehicles. Before the tag system and before, we were struggling to even get by on anything. You can ask anybody in here, we had used trucks, we had maintenance costs that were just out the door or whatever on this thing, as high as they were. So now we've got something in place that people are satisfied in. We're staffing them with qualified people and safe vehicles. We pay our disposal fees, despite an increase in tipping fees and fuel and wages. In fact, the refuse fund appears it's in the best shape we've had for many years, probably the best we've ever had. Other than the people that are complaining within the departments, which believe me, I ran the department for 9 years, I know all those issues. I have to step back on that to do the other side now, though, and say, hey, what do the residents want? And I believe me, the residents that I've talked to are not real happy. Many describe it as a backdoor rate increase. You know, it's basically volume-based. Even the information we have in here that I just saw, that I have tagged, says with the volume-based, with switching to the tags, switching to the bags, we're probably gonna see a 20% increase in revenue. I don't think that's necessary. I don't think we need a increase in revenue. Now, if I'm wrong on that, then somebody stop me now, because I have not looked at those numbers in depth for 15 years. I just looked at the 616 account, what we had 2 years ago versus what we have now. It looks like we're in good shape. I'm also concerned about the added cost of the bags. What we're discussing now, we're going from a penny, whatever the amount is now for the tags, for 20 cents a bag. And the other concern I have is if we go to the bag system and we take people outside the corporation limits, how many of those people are we going to lose on our refuse account? And we pick up the people on the outside the corporation limits to offset the cost that we have on the overall program. So if we lose those people there, I'm not sure that's because they're not mandated to be on our service. We are within the corporation limits. And believe me, I think everybody over the many years has tried to do an account that we remain competitive with the private sector. That's our biggest thing we've got to do. We've got to do good service and remain competitive with the private sector. I think we're doing that. We're doing it, and plus we're also providing curbside recycling. Most people I talk to, they want the flexibility of the bag. They don't really understand where all this issue's coming from. They just said, hey, you know what, if we're not paying overtime, we're getting the job done, why do we want to change a system that works? I get all this information, if this is all digested, it looks like we're having a garbage emergency. We're getting this. If you get this company that gave us information on the bag company, that's their take on the bags. I'm sure if we got information on the tag company, they'd say, hey, you know what, your overall cost of the system is going to be cheaper, so they're going to have their take on that too. It's not a perfect system. Anything we discuss today is not going to be a perfect system. I'm just really concerned about rocking the boat when we're paying our bills. We have excellent equipment, and we're doing a great service. Nobody in here is getting calls on the tags. Believe me, I know all the people that are that have the issues with the pickup, but our responsibility is for the residents, and that's what I'm looking at. As long as we're making money and we're covering our bills, and the residents are satisfied, I don't know why I want to make any type of change.
Mr. President, the people I've been talking to also, like Todd said, he's talking to many people. I have too. I've only had 2 people said they wanted to go to the bag system. Everyone said, please don't change it, keep it the way it is. So my input on that.
Our biggest issue was, I think, Doug, you came to us, 3-4 years ago in committee meeting when the problems started to begin, or they started mounting, and Doug was asking, what direction should we go with this? Should we just let them set? Where do our people make a decision? Here's a trash can, and it's stacked this high over, and the next one's this high over. Where do you make your judgment call? Do we make our city workers make that judgment call, or we make Patty go out and walk up down the street and make calls? I think she's busy the way it is. The counterfeiting, there's some, but that's not the big issue. The big issue is people were overloading, and if we start enforcing that, I think we're gonna have a council chambers full. That when they start letting garbage set from week to week, and we're not doing this.
Yeah, but we've had this issue this issue's come up from the get-go. I can tell you, you can read the things in here from the bag company. They say that's going to be an issue. And a lot of people I have talked to, they said, hey, you know what? All I'm concerned about is my garbage. If we can't enforce within our own department, within reason, nobody expects anybody to go out there and be, putting the garbage cans on a scale to determine, hey, we got 32 pounds or do we have 33 pounds? As long as we continue to enforce it, and when we're making enough money to pay the bills here. In fact, I think we're doing fine in that. I just don't see. Yeah, it's an inconvenience for the guys on the route. It's an inconvenience for everybody in the utility office that takes all the complaints. But you know what? Those people, at least if they're calling in, they know that they've got an issue, and they've got to take care of it. And you know what? Those people that are calling in, they may be complaining, but they know that the city's on them. And that they're if we're not picking it up, they're obviously calling into to the utility office and say, hey, we got an issue. So, you know, I think we're I'm kind of on the same party of a lot of other people I'm talking about. Why punish everybody else for the deeds of a few people? And it's not just one particular ward. That I think there may be one ward that's worse than the other, but I think that the problems are somewhat citywide. But you know, I just don't see that the people are really concerned about that. You know, as long as because okay, if we go to a 20-cent increase in tags, okay, obviously that's gonna add to our operational costs. So at what point are we gonna have to do a rate increase because we added to the operational costs? Are they gonna be happy with that? No, I think they'd be more satisfied with trying to do best with a flawed system. But any system we discuss, I don't care in the next year or whatever, we're not gonna come up with a system that's perfect.
Bag tags doesn't make me any difference, but if we're having an issue there and people are overloading like they are and we can't make a decision, and this is an easy answer, I don't think we're punishing people because, like Doug said, if you like to keep your can, just put your bag inside. It's gonna be the right size, and you can let it there.
I don't even think the can's the issue. I think the can is they want the flexibility of the bag, you know. And they just want the flexibility of the bag, and then my concern is, you know, the increased cost. It's definitely, if we're going from whatever the tags are to the increased cost of the tags, I'm not sure why it's a big issue. At least the people I've talked to say, hey, you know what, I've had several people say, hey, it's just a backdoor way of the city putting the crunch to us again on a rate increase, which I don't think is true. I don't think that's our real motive here. But I can tell you what, if the people I talk to, and they say the same thing, how does that go across? Because if they don't get the newspaper, if they don't know what's going on, we implement this thing effective January 1st, well, we're gonna have sticker shock. I think those people are just gonna be upset, and it's for nothing, really. We have a flawed system that's paying the bills, we have good equipment, we have good employees. Believe me, I don't wanna say anything. I appreciate everything that our guys, our employees have come up with on this information. I just disagree with it. Believe me, the employees are doing what they have to do to bring the information out. I just don't think it's necessary to make any changes.
So we're talking about enforcement of the system, and I brought this up at the last meeting. You know, we have a system that we say is broke, but how can we enforce it a little bit better? And I think that you have to use the workers that are out there picking up the garbage, at least make a note or something. If they don't want to be the bad guy and go to the resident and say, hey, I can't pick up your extra bag today, how do we go about it? I guess we need to think about that.
We'll put a note on the can.
Put a note on the can maybe is an idea. But
But I think
like everybody said, you're going to have a flawed system no matter what you do. If you go to the bag system, how many people are going to overload that bag and put 40, 50 pounds in it? It could happen. I mean, it really could. I hope that from what Jim Harris said, if we do go to a system like a bag system, we get a good, solid, sturdy bag. So, I don't know. My point all along is, how do we enforce a system?
No, I think that's been the question. And I don't think that they brought this to council to try and backdoor rate increase or anything like that. This has just been help for the department to try and enforce the policies that are there. But they feel the bag system would give them more flexibility and make it easier to enforce than the current system is. And that's been the only reason that I can see for them to bring this. They haven't promoted anything else but that. So, we keep the tags, then I think we need to let the service director know that he's got to implement some way of trying to come up. We're enforcing it without putting too much onus on the guys who pick it up, because that's not their job.
I think it's important to note that this whole process started when the mayor and I talked with all the department heads to say, look, take a hard look at your operations. Are there ways to do things smarter, more efficient? And Doug's come up with several ideas that have been implemented that have, no doubt about it, they've saved the city money. This topic comes up. I know it's a hot button topic, and that's why it's being discussed tonight. It is fraud. I mean, when we talked about initially fraud, it was never presented in the light of a rate increase. It's about fraud. We do look at it when they make their own tags, it's fraud, and we can prove it, they've been prosecuted. When they take it and they dump it in a dumpster somewhere, we go through it, they get prosecuted. But Patty's on code enforcement 2 days a week. Normally on day shift, we have 2 officers. There's just so much we can do with this. I feel for the workers when they're out. It's December, January, February. It's 7 in the morning, 7:30. It's still dark. It's snowing. They're looking. Is this a full tag? Is this a half tag? They just guess. They grab it and go. They got to stay on time. They got to stay on their routes. So again, it just was brought up to say how do we deal with the fraud issue, the abuse. And Todd's right. There is no perfect system. There will always be fraud. There will always be abuse. We know that. We're just trying to limit our exposure to it. That's all.
I'd like to clarify one thing a little bit. I think when we're talking about the fraud on the copying the tags, as far as I know, we've only had one instance of that. And that, maybe correct me if I'm wrong. And I think if that would have went on the front page of the newspaper, say we prosecuted that guy for theft of office or theft of service or whatever, or that person, I'm not sure if it's a guy or girl, that problem's got. And I think there's some things in place that we can watch that pretty closely to make sure that the copying of the tags isn't going to happen. That's the only everything else you're describing is completely true, but I don't think the fraudulent tag system, the tags is an issue really.
Yeah, I would like to do headline stories as well. We recently had 2 who were stealing electricity who are going to be charged, and I'd like nothing more for them to be splashed across the headlines to deter other people, but that's up to our editor. So I guess I just want to make sure the council knows our police department does a nice job. We do what we can when we're presented. If we feel we have a solid case, I've seen, and I've done it myself, I've gone through bags of trash looking for names, contacted people, and you deal with it. They get prosecuted. Some swear to go get it, never do it again, and we leave that alone. But it's something that we certainly don't turn our heads to, but we just have to manage our resources as well as Patty's time.
Is there a process in place now that for people that are abusing the system as far as the trash pickup or I mean, a lot of these pictures that I saw were either a lot of bags with no tags or, you know, a can that maybe should have had 2 tags worth of trash in it. And I guess my question is, are we doing anything now when that happens, or are we just picking up the trash and telling them, hey, don't do that next time?
Yeah, I've heard
We try to tag them. We put a sticker on why it wasn't taken, or we'll take the top 2 bags off and just take the full can. And then they'll call and complain, will you come back and get it? I re-tag it. Well, you can't keep doing that all the time.
Right, so it's a multiple trip deal when that happens, as opposed to them pulling it off the street and then wait till next week.
Just a suggestion, we recently, Patty here, we came up with a notice type thing that's been pre-printed for violations of the ordinance, the trash ordinance we recently passed. Maybe we need to come up with a, and I don't know what you use, a pre-printed tag
They're a sticker.
that
For us
you
to
would
bring
check,
together.
trash was not picked up for this reason or something, you know, oversized or.
On your,
We have.
on your
Oh, you
sticker,
do? I didn't
reference
know
the
that.
ordinance, do you reference the ordinance on your sticker that they're in violation of? That's what we did,
You just mark what was wrong with it, whether it's too heavy or.
So he's not
improper
referencing a
container.
specific
Art.
ordinance, he doesn't reference a specific
Right,
ordinance.
right. No,
like
this
we
would-
do.
Well, and this stuff isn't covered under an ordinance, this is
No,
just
no, no.
department policy, so. there
No, I'm
would be
saying-
no-
Well, but
Hey.
no, it's still, it's in the ordinance that way, that they have to be properly tagged. It's in the ordinance like that. It's set out at a
Is
certain
the
time.
weight
Yeah,
also in
it's
the
all,
ordinance?
yeah, that's all in the ordinance, in the trash ordinance, 951, that's all in there. Mm-hmm.
Same with
Yeah.
it, with, when they do take the trash, they don't go out to the can, they look out their window and say, hey, they didn't pick up my trash, they get on the phone and call us.
They don't go out and look
Then
if there's
say,
a tag
hey,
on it or anything.
is there a tag on your trash? Well, I don't know, I'm in the house.
I don't know.
Well, could we go with our system as it is now and try to step up our enforcement and come back to the
I can work with
committee
that
and?
as long as I got somebody on my back and gonna let me enforce it.
Yeah, that's what I say.
I don't want you getting a phone call and say, hey, will you go get Joe Doe's, because he don't want to do it. Well, you gotta draw a line.
Enforcement, see where we go.
Plus maybe do some, retraining of all citizens by maybe putting something in the utility bill.
That's like what I was saying, about the educational.
A little education,
It surprises me how
everyone.
many people
Yeah,
don't
it
know.
is.
I know we've done it before, Doug, I'm sure, but a little reminder every once in a while never hurts anything.
Craig, if we added something on the tags, when Doug goes back and puts that on and say, we're not picking it up, can we cite specific ordinance there and then what the potential fines can be?
Yes.
I mean, maybe that's the only thing else we
We
would
did
do.
that in tags.
Would be to add that to that, I'm not saying put that on every tag, but put it on the thing when he goes back and say, hey, you know, you can be cited for theft, I don't know what the theft of service or whatever it is.
It could be at least an attempted theft.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way it's written, they have it out front. Trash bags have to be properly tagged when they're set out front. When they're on their property, that's a different thing, they can accumulate them. When they're out for the trash to be picked up, they have to be tagged. That can be cited immediately, you don't have to wait 5 days like you do for the one that I enforce. So they can be cited immediately.
Any more discussion? I have a motion from council.
I'll make a motion that we keep the system as in place with modifications to try to enforce the requirements we have in place now.
Do I have a second?
I'd second that.
Mr. Freewell, council vote please. Try it again. Bob wasn't there. All yeses. We're good. Run. The front seat. That's all we have under reports from committees of council. Under readings of ordinances and resolutions. There are no third readings. Under second readings, first we have ordinance 2014-17, an ordinance vacating a certain 12-foot wide alley in the north addition to the city of St. Mary's. No one has any questions or comments on this. This will be back towards third reading at our next meeting. Also under second readings, resolution 2014-12, an emergency resolution authorizing Director of Public Service and Safety to enter into an agreement with an entity for the payment of income tax credit cards. And this was presented to council at the last meeting. If there are no questions or comments from council at this time, it'll be back towards third reading at our next meeting. Under new legislation. First, we have ordinance 2014-18. This is the just an annual note issue for the property owners' share of the street program. I will accept the motion to read ordinance 2014-18 under suspension of rules. Mr. Flagle, second by Ms. Willoughby. Council vote to read under suspension of rules, please. All yeses, thank you. Ordinance 2014-18. An ordinance authorizing the issuance of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of the 2014 street program and to declare an emergency.
This
Pretty
was
straightforward, yeah. Go ahead.
Brought late, I guess, office realized they needed this. I mentioned it late this afternoon. It's really just a form ordinance every year. The street owners, or the property owners' share for sidewalks and curbs and gutters is funded by the city for a year. And then when the project's complete, we pass an assessment ordinance whereby they're assessed for their share. So this is kind of carries that over, and then next year we'll assess for this. So it enables us to pay the contractor to do the curbs and gutters and sidewalks, and then we assess them. We do this every year, so as long as I've been involved.
Yeah. If there are no questions or comments from council, I will accept the motion to pass as an emergency. Mr. Buck, second by Ms. Willoughby. Council vote to pass as an emergency. All yeses, thank you. Next, under new legislation, I have resolution 2014-14. Need a motion to read?
suspension.
Under suspension. The law director has requested that we read under suspension of rules, so I will accept the motion to read resolution 2014-14 under suspension of rules.
So moved.
Mr. Freewalt, second by Mr. Flagel. Council to read under suspension of rules, please. All yeses. Resolution 2014-14, an emergency resolution authorizing waiver of demolition assessment and acquisition of real estate. You want to explain this, Craig?
I think council's been informed of this. This is really the culmination of a process that's been going on for the last few months. This involves what is known as the Gates Building across from the Friendly Tavern. This lot became delinquent for failure to pay real estate taxes, plus an assessment that we had put on the property to demolish the building that had previously been there. Council had been informed of this, and they indicated they wanted to acquire this property. There were no bidders at the tax sale for 2 consecutive times, and because of that, the property by law was offered to the city. I filed a motion with the court saying we would accept the property rather than pay the assessment and then have them pay it back to us, which would just be kind of a waste of time. We are waiving that, but we still have to pay the back taxes, and that amounts to $8,789.34. I think the assessment was something, it was $25,000. So we are in a sense acquiring that property for roughly a downtown lot there for $33,000. It's my understanding the council wishes to proceed to construct a parking lot on that. Obviously, once that is a city property and parking lot, it will then become exempt from future taxes, and or a resolution also indicates at that time, which would be next spring, the engineering department then files to have that exempt. But in the meantime, I think we're going to construct a parking lot there. There's been some parking issues in that area, I think, as council is fully aware. So hopefully this will help solve those problems. We'd just like to proceed so the parking lot can move forward.
There are no questions. Any further from council? I'll accept the motion to pass resolution 2014 as an emergency. Mr. Gilmore, second by Mr. Fitzgerald. That's a vote to pass as an emergency. All yeses, thank you.
Just had to go this 2 hour parking. Would it be a 2 hour parking lot?
Next, under new legislation, I have resolution 2014-15. I need a motion to read. Mr. Freewalt, second by Ms. Willoughby. Council vote to read, please. All yeses. Without objection, I will read the body of the ordinance, of the resolution, I'm sorry. Resolution 2014-15, a resolution of appreciation to Dave Sprague. Whereas Dave Sprague began employment with the City of St. Mary's as an operator in training at the water treatment plant on April 3rd, 1978. And whereas Dave was promoted to Superintendent of Water and Sewer Plants January 29th, 1991. And whereas Dave was promoted to Superintendent of Water and Sewer Departments on April 30th, 2001, where he continued to serve the remainder of his career with the city. And whereas Dave has served the City of St. Mary's and its citizens for more than 36 years. Therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of St. Mary's, Ohio, that this council hereby extends its appreciation and recognition to Dave Sprague for his faithful and dedicated service to the City of St. Mary's. Any questions or comments from council?
It's a lot of years of service to the city, and he did an outstanding job.
I can remember when Stan brought him in, introduced him to the committees when he took over. Means I've been around a long time.
Not as long as I have.
That's true.
We say happy retirement.
Yeah, great job.
Nice job.
Nice job.
Now, if there are no further comments, I will accept the motion to pass.
So moved.
Ms. Willoughby, second by Mr. Bub. Council vote to pass, please. All yeses, thank you. As soon as Ken isn't here, he wasn't able to sign your copy of the ordinance, or resolution, so we wanted to hand it out to you tonight, but we'll have to wait till we get over to Ken. That's all we have scheduled under readings of ordinances and resolutions. Under miscellaneous business and closings, we have a request for a finance committee meeting June 16th at 5:15. That work for the finance committee?
It's good. It's good for me.
Okay. Also, we need to excuse Mr. Coberman. Mr. Buck?
Motion to excuse Ken.
Second. By Greg, council vote to excuse Mr. Coberman. Yes? Go ahead.
Kind of a feel-good story. It was in one of the local papers tonight. It's been on the Today Show and national news. The couple in Akron that had the birth of the Mono twins. The father of that baby is from St. Mary's. He grew up here. He graduated from Memorial High School. I think his mother still lives here, and I think his brother works for the city. Thistlethwaite. So it's kind of a neat thing. I woke up one morning, they were on the Today Show, and those were the twins were born hugging each other, the Mono twins. His brother played football. I think Bill played football, didn't he, for St. Mary's? So kind of a neat St. Mary's connection there.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else coming before council this evening?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Buck to adjourn. Second by Mr. Gilman. Council vote to adjourn, please. All yeses? Thank you very much. We're done.